Hi there. I obviously haven't been feeling my best, but I know that it is in times when we are at our worst that our practices are most necessary. So, as per usual, I shall be doing the December Herbal Tarot video, regardless of my state. I do have a little bit of a frog in my throat, but mostly I'm speaking this low because I'm doing this at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep because I sleep in the middle of the day because I'm in pain. So let's get started. December 2017 tarot reading. The last of 2017. Okay. Check on anything really quickly. Let's see here. As usual, we will do COA. Concern, opportunity, obstacle, and advantage aversion. Often they can be both sides of the same coin, but we'll see what the cards have to say to us. Our concern is the King of Pentacles right side up. Pentacles is the suit of earth. It's the suit of the body. It's the suit of health. It's the suit of labor. It's the suit of vocation. It's the suit of foundation. It's the suit of finances. It's the suit of hard work. It's the suit of earned resources. It's the suit of being in the body, basically, of the human experience. King of Pentacles, right side up, says, man over 35. I don't usually say that because sometimes to me it's sort of irrelevant whether it's over a particular age, like age in itself is irrelevant, but let's say a mature man, an adult man, a man of adult age, businesslike, responsible, rigid, organized, and conservative, a man of means and worldly accomplishments, wise in the way of the world, a fatherly figure. This is actually interesting for a few reasons. One, we are officially in the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter in the Greek pantheon is Zeus. Zeus is the father figure of the pantheon, as is Jupiter in the Roman pantheon, as would be Shango in Ifa and the Afro-Caribbean diaspora that descended from Ifa, and would be Odin, I suppose, in Norse mythology. So we're speaking about not only the divine masculine, but the upright masculine, the masculine that is actually sovereign, the qualities of masculinity that are honored because they deserve honor, not simply because of what they are, but because of how they carry themselves, right? So businesslike, responsible, rigid, organized, and conservative. A man of means and worldly accomplishments, wise in the way of the world. Conservative, too, obviously in this political climate, can come off in a lot of ways, but conservative to me also says something about being somewhere between patient and reserved, with knowing when to hold back, knowing when not to take advantage, knowing when not to overstep, knowing when not to abuse, using masculine energy correctly. And even though that means that energy is able to overstep its boundaries or to extend itself, masculine energy is extensive, and that it's able to overcome certain odds by force or by sheer will, the conservative aspect of this card and the organizedness and the responsibility and the rigidness, but also the wisdom in the ways of the world, is also about not only ability, but appropriateness, right timing, not just opportunity, but proper timing. And so our concern is about, basically, of course, in the world, the concern is like, who's the good father figure here. You know, we don't have the poster child and the fallback person of Obama anymore in the world. And I mean, not that he's gone, but meaning as a leader, as an official leader of the world, of a world government, that being America. Also, you know, it's like people want Jesus to come back, people want God to come down, people even want aliens, which I'm pretty sure more often than not are considered to be masculine, to be the ones that are going to rescue humans. But it's really upright masculine energy, honoring upright feminine energy, that is really going to bring humans into balance. And so I guess what this card says is our concern is the authority that we have and trust in and of ourselves. Not just the authority that we get from outside validation, but our own mature masculine energy, our own business-like responsible rigidity, organized and conservativeness, our own wisdom in the way of the world, our own means and worldly accomplishments, our own ability to be looked up to as the patriarch of our circumstances, of our life, of our choices, of our world. And so our concern is about appropriate use of extensive, forceful, rigid energy. And it's a good concern. It's definitely, I said this in my plant alchemy reading, because of course they always overlap in different ways, but like I just lost what I was going to say. Well, there's something that pertains to both readings that I was just going to say, but went out of my mind, but that's okay because something else came into my mind. Also, this month we have to recognize that Saturn, Big Daddy Cain, as I call him, because he'd be whacking you with the cane of wisdom and restriction and slowing your ass down, is also moving on the 21st, which is, of course, the winter equinox from... or maybe it's the 22nd, but the day after the equinox, which is moving from Sagittarius to Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. I'm not remembering who Saturn is in the Roman pantheon, but I'm pretty sure, so who Saturn is in the Greek pantheon, but I'm pretty sure he's Hades, because Saturn has a bad reputation of being evil simply because Saturn is the taskmaster. Saturn is the one that asks you and tests you to see if you actually know what you say you know. Saturn is the planet that actually comes through and makes you better yourself, or puts your image of yourself to shame so that you have the opportunity to better yourself. And actually walk upright and walk your talk and be who you say you are. And usually Saturn is always looking for you to be someone of integrity, because Saturn is all about cleaning house, cleaning the skeletons out of the closet. So there's just a lot of masculine energy right now. Oh, right, this is what I was going to say in my reading. See, it all comes back. Which is that, we're moving from the patriarchy to the mothership. And that doesn't mean that there isn't a place for masculinity, but there's a different place for it. And the energies are very much shifting. And that includes the masculine energy of every gender, because everyone has masculine, feminine, and androgynous energy. These are the three elements that combine in the world, whether it's neutron, proton, electron, masculine, feminine, androgynous, yin, yang, and Tao. There are many ways of describing these three these three energies that can combine, but that create life and create paradox and create free will and create choice and create, what is happening in this world. So that's our concern. What is happening in this world, definitely. Our second card is opportunity or obstacle. And it's the Ten of Swords right side up. Swords is a suit of air. It's a suit of intellect. It's a suit of intellectualizing emotions. It's the suit of looking ourselves in the mirror and being satisfied with what we're looking back at. It's also the suit of projection for when we look in the mirror and we deny what we see. So it's often the suit of the trials and tribulations that we go through when we're trying to avoid something within ourselves that then existence brings again and again and again outside of us in order for us to not be able to avoid what we are, because we are mirrors to one another. So existence will also always bring you what you need and what you are attracting to your life, particularly if those are things in yourself that you're avoiding. Swords is also the suit of hard trials and tribulations, but hard-earned lessons after struggle and strife, lessons that you never forget, things that you carry on into your further maturity. Ten of Swords, right side up, says, one who is crippled and overcome by grief and sadness, desolation, desperation, no room for more pain. Sometimes when I read these cards, I'd be like, it's talking about me. And I don't know what else other people are going through. It doesn't have to be a health issue. It can be a relationship issue. It can be a work issue. It can be a personal crisis, whether with your bodily health or with your spiritual health or with your mental health, whether you're feeling purposeless in the world or whether you're feeling like unworthy of your place here. But the swords, the reason the swords is the struggle with the self, is the struggle with the personality and the idea of the personality, is because swords is the battle for something that ultimately no human actually has to earn in the ultimate reality, but feels they need to earn in the reality that we created with one another. What I mean by that is existence put you here, so you are valid because existence, of all the billions of things it's creating and all the infinite opportunities it has to create things, for some reason you are in the world. And that is a necessity of existence, apparently, or else it wouldn't be the case. So there's nothing to prove in terms of whether you should be here. Your being here is proof in and of itself. But because of the way that we've constructed society and the species and our idea of the species, swords is often the long-ass, hard-ass road back to something that you find that in the beginning you never needed to question in the first place. That's why it's so frustrating, because it's the intellect, you know, almost worrying and working against itself. And it can also be utilized for gain, and anything that is negative in the world can be made positive simply by utilizing it for betterment of self in the future. And for that reason, nothing, you know, the maturity of swords, I guess, is that nothing wasted creates positive result. Because if you can use your negative experiences to create positive outcomes, then nothing is wasted. And so the swords, if it teaches you that lesson, rather than wallowing and feeling bad for yourself and projecting on others and causing suffering that you feel within yourself, then you are utilizing the ultimate ability that swords has to offer, which is in many ways justice. And justice and being true to the way things are. Not in our egoistic idea of the way things are, but in the ultimate reality of how things come into being and coexist. Again, it says, one who is crippled and overcome by grief and sadness, desolation, desperation, no more room for no pain. Well, there's certainly a turning around point. Obviously, it's the New Year's for a lot of people. That's a turnaround point anyway. It's also, you know, the end of a tumultuous presidency here in the States. It's the end of a tumultuous year throughout the world. It's going to continue to be aggressive, and we're dealing with desolation. We're dealing with grief and pain and sadness. But when we're dealing with no more room for pain, it's like that rock bottom feeling. When you're at the rock bottom and you make a decision, you know, some people make the decision that they're going to take themselves out. That's unfortunate. It's a choice that certain people make, but it's not recommended because, again, I've said this before, but, you know, we come into life completely ignorant, not knowing what it is, and we find our way. There's absolutely no reason that death should be any different in the sense that you'll arrive somewhere else and deal with it when you get there. You being whatever spark walked into your body or crawled into your body or expressed itself through your body, and that leaves you when you become rigor mortis. But no more room for more pain, no more room for pain for those of us who are resilient, decidedly resilient, means more about just turning things around, deciding that there is a way, and that one way or the other, it must be found, because we don't want to exist in the way that we've been existing. I'm certainly at that place. I don't know how many of you are at that place. But that is certainly the obstacle and the opportunity, which I think I've actually covered pretty well. I said this to the homie, the insta-homie, Britain, Archaic Honey, and shout out to Britain, Archaic Honey. But I was telling her that pain doesn't get the credit it deserves, because it's actually, for those of us who embrace it when it comes to be embraced, is an amazing teacher. Pain teaches things that softer experiences cannot quite get the same results out of us for. I mean, those of us who are the wisest, to the best among us, okay, maybe them. But when pain comes into town, it holds no punches and it demands recognition. And if we can still find a point of clarity through our most painful moments, where that is what hones resilience. That is the sword in the kiln being beaten into something from one form into another. I mean, that is the phoenix moment. So pain is a great teacher, and if we appreciate it when it naturally comes around, or when we naturally bring it about, then we don't need to overextend its welcome, because we learn from it as soon as we possibly can. Our last card is our advantage or our aversion card. We have the Nine of Cups reversed. Cups is the suit of water. It's the suit of relationships. It's the suit of one-on-one relationships. It rules all liquids in the body: urine, semen, vaginal juices, blood. It rules creative energy, because water, traditionally fluid, rules creative energy. It also rules reproductive energy. So in that sense, it's creative, because of course, vaginal juices and blood and semen together all create children and offspring. So it deals with that sort of creation as well, but also creative projects. And then it also deals with one-on-one relationships, whether that's business partner, sibling, parent, child, lover, whatever. Nine of Cups reverse says contentment and abundance with few limits or setbacks. Well, that's, I would say, an advantage and an affirmation. And you know, for some of you, it might be an aversion. Some people like to suffer. Some people prefer to be right and suffer than to be at peace and neutral. And for those people, you know, really that experience is its own suffering. It's its own punishment, because it's self-inflicted. Again, we go back to the Ten of Swords. We talk about that behavior, but it's also very ego emotional. I was going to say over emotional, but over emotional would be inappropriate emotional or uncalled for emotions, which would be stimulated by the ego. So ego emotions, where it's not simply about what happened anymore, but it's about how you identify with what happened and how it defines everything. So for people who like to complain, or people who like to be ill, or people who like to say that things were done to them, that's something that they're working through, both in the mirrors and in the cups, because the emotion will go ahead and justify the intellectualization of the emotion, and it will ping, 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 but it will also trap them in this narrative that only the people who will listen to the narrative can actually converse with them about, because anything that comes in to stop that narrative becomes shut down, because the egoistic emotional feedback is that they're justified by their feelings. I don't know why that came to me, but it did. And contentment and abundance with few limits or setbacks. Again, learning from this pain. Really, it's like if we can find the balm within the pain, or within the concern, or within the issue, or within the aversion, if we can find that soothing thing within it, which is, you know, coming to a place of recognition, coming to a place of realization, coming to a turning point, coming to a place where we recognize that things have to change, and then we actually embark upon that road of change and recognition and realization, then we are in a place where contentment will come, because we recognize that something has to give. And the best of swords, the best of all suits, is when we recognize that we have to give, that it's more about what we can do for ourselves than what others can do for us, and more about what we can do for others than what they can do for us. That kind of dualistic responsibility, the balance of swords and the balance of cups. sometimes has to come through the hardest lessons, because there's so many examples of the opposite in the world that I think for many people it's much easier to follow suit. But to walk upright in the suits, any of the suits, major arcana, wands, pentacles, cups, or swords, it's about being the most accountable version of you that is at your disposal. And that means following the beat of your own drum, but also doing what needs to be done by you without the expectation of others doing it for you. So that is December 2017, end of the year, Herbal Tarot video reading. I have done it with my hospital tag on and in a low voice, so hopefully this is all audible. But that's all, and I will see you all next year. Happy New Year and happy holidays. Bye-bye. And happy change through pains. Growing pains.